Hey everybody, welcome to Shark Jump Inc. I'm Corey, your friendly neighborhood movie reviewer. This is Shelby,
Hi.
Dallas,
Hey.
and Caleb.
What's up?
And today we're going to be talking about all of the Spider-Man movies. There should be a video up already right now for our review of Spider-Man Homecoming, but this is going to be a video that encompasses all the previous Spider-Man movies, and we're going to discuss our thoughts on those. So, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen these 15 to 3-year-old movies, but we will be talking about them in depth.
You need to climb out from underneath your rock and go see them.
Some of them. We'll get to that.
But we're going to talk about
Watch all of them.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all
We are gonna talk about
5 of them before Homecoming, from the good to the bad to the ugly.
They're really ugly.
So, to start off with, we'll start with 2002's Spider-Man. And who wants to start us off?
Dallas. All right. Spider-Man came out. We were really little kids.
It was the first movie I ever actually remember seeing in theaters.
I remember
Sam
being
Raimi's Spider-Man.
I remember being stupid excited to go see it. Like,
Yeah.
I went and saw it. I loved it as a little kid. I still love it now. It's super cheesy, over the top. But I mean, as most early 2000s movies, not just superhero movies, but any early 2000s movie really is. They're over the top, just super campy, cheesy, all of that.
Very 2000s.
Like, you watch it and you go,
X-Men.
I know what this is.
Yeah,
Like,
X-Men.
X-Men, the first Fast and the Furious, all of these long-standing sequel movies, they're still around. You watch their first iteration, and you can see.
I also forgot to add, well, Corey and I saw this together.
Because we're brothers and
because
twins.
Because we're brothers and twins. Back in 2002, and it was the first movie I remember seeing in theaters. It's also the first movie I fell asleep in. It's also the last movie I've fallen asleep in. I've never done that again.
Mine is The Hulk.
In theaters,
First
I mean.
movie or first movie you fell asleep in?
First movie I fell asleep in.
What's your first movie?
I don't know. Probably Spider-Man, honestly.
No idea my first movie. Literally the only one I
That's
can
the
think
Spider-Man. Spider-Man's
of.
the
All
first
I
one I
think
can
of is
remember.
Lord of the Rings.
Spider-Man's the
But
first one I can
know
remember
that's
seeing in the
probably
theaters.
not right.
All right.
Anyway.
I'm starting to distract from the
Yeah, we got off on a
Let's-
tangent.
Anyway, you talk about it being cheesy. It is. Like, there is no getting around that. It
Insanely
definitely
cheesy.
is cheesy.
It's great cheesy,
But
though.
it captures the world of the comics and the characters of the comics perfectly, I think. I think
Yes,
this first movie
absolutely.
is the perfect encapsulation of Spider-Man.
Mhm. Exactly. It's back when comics were more innocent, when comic book movies were more innocent, where they didn't have to be always serious or about certain topics. It was more about having a good time and maybe having some nice emotions and characters.
Two words I gotta say that just show, in my opinion, just encapsulate all of Spider-Man 1 and what it is, and that is Bonesaw McGraw. Bringing up the Macho Man Randy Savage, one of the all-time greatest wrestlers but over-the-top characters in the world, was perfect for a comic book movie like this.
I love Bonesaw McGraw.
It was just, I loved it because it's fun, it's stupid, you didn't have to take it serious,
Yeah.
but it was a good, harmless thing to put in the movie, which is exactly how all of the movie should have been, and how it was.
But no, this movie catches you from the very beginning. Like, with the opening title sequence, with that theme
Oh,
from
yeah.
Danny Elfman, the Spider-Man theme that still today is probably the best. It's definitely the best Spider-Man music ever put to film. Might be the best superhero theme ever put to film.
It's certainly
It's up there for me. It's
Like
probably
with-
my favorite.
I'd say it's right
honestly.
up there with John Williams' Superman.
The Superman
score.
theme from 1978, like
Yeah.
that. It's up there. It's iconic.
Yeah.
And then the casting. Tobey Maguire is a fantastic Peter Parker.
Yes.
Dork.
He's a
He's
dork.
a dork.
That's
He's-
exactly
He's
it.
the
though.
perfect
Yeah,
dork.
yeah, admittedly, he might be a little less on the genius side and a little more on the goofy dork losers.
And when you get to the
But-
later movies, just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But admittedly,
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
but,
We're still in the first movie.
but in the first
We're still in
movie,
the first movie.
he's still a sympathetic dorky loser.
Still has his weird faces though.
He has weird times, but that's part
The
of
Uncle
his
Ben
charm.
crying face.
Yeah, I'll say just his crying face.
Speaking
is
of Uncle Ben,
awful.
Uncle Ben.
Cliff Robertson was great as Uncle Ben.
Oh yeah.
And there hasn't been a better Uncle Ben.
That's the iconic line, which has been cliched so many
Great
times.
powers and their responsibility.
Exactly.
James Franco is intense, and like he really portrays like a vulnerability to Harry. Like he's really jealous of Peter because Norman kind of latches on to Peter as like a son kind of figure
Instead of
Harry.
you can see that father-son tension between the
And you can see that
Osborns,
building inside
where
of
it's like
Harry.
Harry's not as good as a son as what his father wants.
And that brings us to Willem Dafoe, who was a great
Fantastic.
Green Goblin.
My
Norman
favorite,
Osborn.
my favorite Spider-Man villain ever, honestly.
I
And I know y'all are gonna agree with that, but he's my favorite Spider-Man
He's
villain.
close at least.
I love like just the outfit. Like I always loved the helmet.
The helmet,
I
is,
love
the
how
helmet
it
is
looked.
everything. The glider, it's all a great
Yeah,
spectacle.
I like that
love how
helmet.
all of it looked.
I like the helmet. I'm not a huge fan of
And
the
the suit,
costume.
the
I'm not a huge fan of the
I
suit.
love all of
I
it.
understand.
I was about to say that's a
It's
very
this
controversial
green
point for a lot
armor.
of fans. A lot of fans hate that costume because they say it looks too much like a Power Rangers character. But I personally have no. I'm fine with it. I don't have any. It's not terrible to me. It's not great to me. It's fine.
Also, this movie gave us one of my all-time favorite movie quotes.
I know what you're gonna say.
Godspeed,
Yep.
Spider-Man.
Godspeed.
I I'll quote that daily. I'll just walk around and just say that.
But of course, if we're talking about pitch perfect casting, there's nobody casted better in the entire Spider-Man trilogy.
Joe Manganiello as Flash Thompson.
No.
Oh,
I mean, he's fine, but there's no better casting than J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah
Yeah.
Jameson.
J.K. Simmons.
At least in
as
the
J.
Spider-Man
Jonah-
trilogy, it might even just be some of the best casting in any movie.
I was
really.
about to say J.K. Simmons and as J. Jonah Jameson is one of the best superhero like movie castings ever. Might be one as an adaptation. As an adaptation of something, it's one of the greatest casting choices ever.
Definitely.
That's also why none of the other Spider-Man movies after the trilogy have wanted to replicate it.
No, because they
Yeah.
can't.
They can't.
Because J.K. Simmons really nailed the character.
And he demands attention every time he's in the room. Just
Yeah.
not because of his personality. Just he's an over-the-top actor and character, and he just any film he's in where they just let him be him, he steals the show.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, overall, still like a cheesy movie, but still very enjoyable and captures that world perfectly.
There is some one of the big problems with this movie is that the CGI is
It
pretty
doesn't-
dated.
There's one bad scene. Like it's just always like a funny because that's
You
really
talking about the
weird.
pumpkin bomb scene where they all
That's
turn into
literally
skeletons?
what I was about to.
Yeah,
I was
and
about to
it's
say
kind
that
of like
too.
like turn
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
skull.
it's
It's really weird.
But I mean, it was a different time. They didn't have what we have now to work with.
I mean, yeah, but still.
That they probably also just didn't want to show it being overtly violent. They didn't want to show it just
Like
Right.
skin burning.
Yeah, this was still a
Yeah,
family friendly movie
for the most part.
for the most part.
Raiders of the Lost
yeah,
Ark.
is it Lost Ark?
Just bubbling and
Well, that's different.
anyway.
That's back in the '80s when no one really cared.
Yeah, there's that one was okay.
Kristen Dunst. I've never really been a
Yeah.
huge fan of
I
her
don't- I don't
She's
love
not
her.
great,
as an actress.
and she wasn't so bad in this movie.
She was okay in this movie.
But
she
she-
did
exactly,
get-
but
she
the
did get
further-
progressively worse.
And we'll talk about this when we hit 2 and 3. But the further the series goes on, the less I like her, the less I like her character, and the more I can see her as probably the worst casting choice for a longtime character in the series.
We're gonna I'm not a huge fan of her as an actress. We're gonna get later down the line where there's gonna be somebody I'm really not a fan of, but that's later down the line.
I know who it is.
We'll see. So I think that kind of sums up everything. We can move on to the next one. What would you give Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man?
Probably 8.2. It's still really good, but I don't think it's the best. And judging from Homecoming, I'd also say it's reason to replace the second best.
I'm going to go with an 8 even.
Any thoughts on that?
It was great, and it was a great first experience and great first exposure. It was my first exposure to a superhero movie, and Spider-Man has captured my attention ever since. I've been a huge fan of that ever since. But just really looking back at it and honestly watching it as a true movie fan and everything, it has its flaws, but it's still a fun movie to watch.
It's
So
still a good
I'm
fun
going to
movie.
stick with an 8.
For me, it was the first movie I ever remember seeing in theaters that introduced me to film, and it still I was glad to see that it still held up
For the most part.
decently well.
Yeah, for the most part.
Me, I'm gonna say it's an 8.3. yeah, 8.3 is about on par with this new one for me. I might like the new one a little bit more, but it's around that area for me.
I'm also around like probably an 8.3 range. It probably was my favorite up until this new one. This new one probably passed it. 1 and 2 are very close for me. So 2 might be a little bit better. 1 might be a little better. I'm still not 100% sure, but I think Homecoming is my new favorite. But I know like Spider-Man, this first one was the first, I believe, to introduce Spider-Man to me. I don't think I knew him before that.
You know,
I
I,
had
just,
known
I
Spider-Man.
thought about
long
something
before.
interesting. You know what? I actually own this movie on VHS.
I don't think I
Fun
knew.
fact for all you youngins out there watching, VHS is what we had before DVDs.
Spider-Man,
You're not even 20 years old.
Spider-Man 3 was the first Blu-ray I owned because it came
Really?
with my PlayStation.
How about
Spider-Man's probably one of the first DVDs around. Anyway,
But one thing before we move on to the next is that we also do have to emphasize the importance of Spider-Man. X-Men was really the first one to give us superhero movies.
we wouldn't have got Spider-Man if we didn't have X-Men.
Well, we were gonna get Spider-Man, but it was helped along a little by X-Men.
You think we
No.
would have got Spider-Man in 2002 if X-Men hadn't
Well,
came out?
Spider-Man was only 2 years removed after X-Men, so
Exactly.
I don't think they just saw X-Men and then just heard a lot.
I think X-Men laid the groundwork that, hey, people will go see
X-Men
superhero
Exactly,
movies.
that's what I'm saying.
That's what happened. But Spider-Man definitely, like, the
Showed-
success of Spider-Man showed that, hey, this is a real business. Like, we
Exactly.
can get into.
That's
and
what
keep
I
these
was trying to
movies
say.
going.
X-Men is what introduced us to
Spider-Man's what kept it
just
alive.
superhero movies being a mature, interesting thing after the Joel Schumacher Batman movies and the death of the Superman movies after Superman 4. But Spider-Man is really the one that made superhero movies where they are today.
All right, so Spider-Man 2. 2004, Sam Raimi returned, everybody returned.
Yeah.
How do we feel about that?
Spider-Man 2 is
I know I like it a lot less than y'all.
Mhm.
It's
I
not.
can't understand that.
I know it's not a bad movie. Honestly, just growing up, I just didn't like it that much, and still, I just don't like it that much. I mean, it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's just not one that I enjoy as much as the rest.
Doc Ock is a good villain in it.
Doc Ock's a good villain.
Yeah.
He was portrayed wonderfully.
Mhm.
yes.
What's
very
the
good.
actor's name?
Alfred Molina.
He was fantastic.
Yes.
Great job.
Probably one of the best.
Like, just like not
Rob-
gonna attempt to say that name.
probably one of the best cinematic comic book villains. Probably right up there with Heath Ledger's Joker. Not necessarily better. Just he's up there.
I will.
That statement made me uncomfortable.
I will
But
admit
he's
though,
up there.
even though the movie's not my favorite, it definitely gave me my favorite Spider-Man scene,
The train.
the
scene.
train scene. Everybody knows the train scene. We really don't even have to talk about it. It's that iconic.
But we should talk about it.
Oh, I mean, the scene itself deserves to be talked
yes,
about.
because
Like, it earned it. I'm just saying we don't have to.
It's a great work of just CGI and stunts and just and even just character development between Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus when they're at different points in their lives.
To me, Spider-Man 2 does what Spider-Man did, but better. Like, it brought
Yes. I agree.
You could tell that they let Raimi go a little bit more. They let him do what he wanted to do. Like, my perfect example of this is, I really like the train scene, but my favorite scene in that movie is probably right after the accident with Doc Ock, where he's in the
Yeah.
hospital,
and he
and all of, like, his arms are strung up and everything.
Horrifying to see as a kid.
It's
It
almost
is-
a,
it is
it's
terrifying.
almost a horror scene.
Yeah.
When the
It
chick
is
gets grabbed,
terrifying.
thrown away, and just
Yeah.
digging
Yeah.
the
It
nail.
scared
That's
me.
horrifying.
It scared me.
it is terrifying. I will admit that.
But
It scared me as a kid too, but it is, and for one, it has a lot of Raimi in it because with the Evil Dead and everything. But it is a very tense scene, and
It's kind of uncomfortable, really.
but it like builds the
But in a
myth
good
of like
way.
these, because the arms
They have a mind of
they
their
have
own.
a mind of their own,
And
he
he's
doesn't
doing this
know what's
all while
going
he's
on.
unconscious.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on. These arms are just massacring
People.
these doctors and everything, and it shows like what, not even like the lengths that Doc Ock would go to, like
But when he can't even stop or control.
right.
Yeah,
And
but
it
he's
shows
not-
that while he may be a person and have these feelings, he can't necessarily control what he's doing.
Right.
And he's not necessarily evil, just
Right.
more corrupted.
He's never an evil guy. He's really not.
He's just in a bad situation.
He's in a bad situation, and he gets talked into it by like.
This
It
thing
feels
is
weird
messing
saying
with
this.
his head.
He gets talked into it by the arms. Like
I mean, that's exactly
that's
what's
what
happening.
happens.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I think I do know what it is about this movie. I think it's that I like a lot of the characters less and less. You know,
I
Like-
think here you start to like Mary Jane.
it's
less.
where I definitely started to
That-
like Mary Jane
That
less,
one I can.
and I definitely feel like Harry is getting more whiny.
Harry's
I-
more whiny. Harry's also not in this movie as much.
He's not in the movie as much, but every time I see him, I don't like him.
I don't know.
You know, like
actually
at the beginning where he's drunk and slaps Peter, and you know that whole fiasco. Like I just like him less. You know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I don't know. I think James Franco's performance in this movie because it shows more of the turmoil he's having between, Peter Parker and the ghost of his father, Norman Osborn, and how he's trying to conflict with that. I will agree that Mary Jane is worse in this movie than she was in the first one, and it's mainly just because she's like weirdly mean with Peter when she
Yeah.
won't go to his
Yeah,
play.
definitely.
You bring up the thing with Harry and Peter. Couldn't Peter just kind of clarify that for him?
He
Like,
totally could have.
that's what
I
always
mean,
bothered me with that. Like when
he
when
definitely could have.
Doc Ock captures him and lays him out for Harry, and he figures out Peter is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I do like
Like,
that.
he
Like
goes-
at that point, he could have explained everything.
He goes like he busts out of the chains and he's like, "You killed my dad," and he was like, "We don't have to. This isn't about
Like-
me and you." Could you
Like,
just been like,
they literally wait until the third movie
Yeah.
when the butler is like,
Oh, well,
I cleaned your father's wounds.
yeah,
we're
They
gonna get
were
into
from
that
his
later.
own glider. Like they could have cleared it up instantly, and we
Right.
wouldn't even have had that whole terrible arc in the third movie
Yeah.
that we're about to talk about.
Right.
Okay, but I do like that scene because James Franco's Harry Osborn's in shock because he didn't expect that his friend
right.
would be Spider-Man. But yeah, and there are a bunch of just good things about it. There's good performances, and I think Tobey Maguire is actually more comfortable in this movie than he was in the first one. Where the first one he was a little more awkward and stilted, but this one it seems like he's more just a regular guy, just struggling with all these problems. Like he loses his pizza delivery job, and he's trying to get to.
Yeah,
I was just waiting for that. He was trying to get.
One of the best licensed games ever.
yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Too.
But yeah, and he's trying to get Mary Jane to like him, but he keeps missing his plays and he's failing his classes, and
The end of the movie, I do enjoy a lot.
Where Doc Ock goes down with
Doc
his
Ock goes
reactor.
down with the reactor and pulls in. Just honestly, I thought like that whole like miniature sun was such a spectacle. Like
Mhm.
I say, I don't really like the movie, and I just like it's. I don't know. I almost feel like it's tedious to watch for me. Like there are only certain parts of the movies where I really enjoy, and just the rest of it kind of feels
Like there's a
tedious.
lot of moments you like a lot,
But
that's
the
on
rest
a
of them I just
whole-
don't really care about. Like I almost feel like there's just
Yeah.
too much in between for me.
I can understand that.
But the end of the movie, it's where Doc Ock finally like he gets control of what he's doing and he completes that character arc and has to bring it down and go down with it.
Anybody else have anything to say?
I
I
think
will
we've
say
covered it.
another thing is that after original Spider-Man, its effects are kind of dated. Spider-Man 2 is a much better improvement over that.
It's still dated though.
It's still a bit on the
Absolutely.
dated side, but it's a lot less uncomfortable to watch than Spider-Man's is.
I'll go with you this time.
Our first Amazing Spider-Man 3 or my reading?
Rating.
You're right.
Or not Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man.
Glad we
Honestly,
didn't get that.
Like I said, probably about like an 8.3 again. Like I said,
You
I-
got
about
it compared
the
to the
same.
first one.
yeah, I do like them both, like a lot. I don't know, like Dallas made some good points. Like there are moments I really like a lot, but I think also kind of as a whole, like I don't just love it as much as I love the first one.
Well, you gave it the same rating.
Yeah, but I like
There's
They're
certain
same
spots he
rating.
enjoys a lot more than the
but
first
like
movie.
I don't like one of them. I think I might like one more. I might like two. It just really depends,
Mm,
like how I'm
it's on
feeling.
Your movie.
Depends
Yeah.
on the day.
Depends on the day.
All right.
Personally, I this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I think it's better than the first one. I think it expands on the first one. It plays in that world more, and Doc Ock is one of the best comic book villains of all time.
See?
But yeah, but I wouldn't like. It's like the Joker, and then it's like
Yeah, it's like
villains.
you threw him up to this iconic
Yeah.
role that nobody is ever going
Right.
to
Well,
match.
I'm just saying he's in the same like.
No,
I guess-
I get
He's
it. I get it.
relatively. in the
Yeah, I
same.
get it. I'm probably around an 8.8.
With my rating, obviously, I didn't enjoy this movie as any
As much as
the other
as the first one.
The first one.
Homecoming or the first one. But I mean, overall, it's still a good movie, and it's still fun to watch in parts. And if I split it up and don't watch it all in one sitting, I can enjoy it a lot more. I don't know why; it's just how I am with the movie. But I'd go with the 7.5 on my rating.
And that's respectable. Like you have problems with it, but
Right? I mean,
still a
it's
good
still
movie.
not. It's not a terrible. It's a good movie still. I just
Yeah.
don't enjoy it as much as the rest.
I feel like it's kind of how I feel for Batman vs Superman. It's good if you're not forced to just sit and watch it. Not comparing it at all to Batman vs Superman.
No,
You know,
I'll say, but like I enjoy Batman vs Superman if I can just like get up, like move around, like
right? If
get
I'm not
snack,
just sitting
come
there
back, like
pinned into the chair watching.
Exactly.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
What you're
I feel like-
we'll
Shelby?
we'll talk about that one maybe later. It's
I
Oh, we'll
know.
talk about it. We'll
Probably
talk
have
about
some
it.
sort of DC
We will talk
series
about it.
review before Justice League or something. But anyway,
Talk about it.
my opinion on Spider-Man 2 is probably about the same as yours. It's my favorite Spider-Man movie. I think it's one of the best superhero movies ever. Probably, I mean, it's not like The Dark Knight or Logan, but I think it's one of the better ones. Like, I'd say it's right there with the best of the MCU has to offer, like Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'd say, well, and plus it just has really inventive ideas and sequences and characters that you don't really see much in comic book movies or even just movies in general. So I'm gonna go the same 8.8.
All right. So
how does this train?
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
solid ratings all around. All right. So now we go to Spider-Man 3.
You mind if I start this one off?
What a mess.
For everything that the first two movies did perfectly to build up the Spider-Man universe, the Raimi-verse, Spider-Man 3 just goes and cuts him off at the knee, just drops him down. Like, try walking on your legs nubs. Like,
What?
it was terrible.
Sony happened.
That's yeah.
Yeah,
You're right.
like-
I mean,
Sony was like, you gotta do this
How-
stuff.
how do you
to
make
please
it-
the fans,
How do you
Raimi.
make it the best Spider-Man movie? Throw any villain you can into there. Like,
we gotta have Venom in there.
Okay,
Like,
let's.
okay, the Venom, as a Spider-Man person, as a fan, I would have loved to have seen Venom. It's so poorly executed.
I was gonna say,
Black Suit Spider-Man, though,
Yes,
that was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best part about this movie. No doubt.
I agree.
Black
As a
Suit Spider-Man,
I agree.
fan, I would have loved to see the black suit, but I personally to me, this movie would have been better if the first two movies were building up the relationship between Peter and Harry, and then this movie would have been perfect if it just
Exactly. If it
if
was
it was just them coming to a head. Then in the fourth one,
You
you
can
do
got it.
Black
Sandman.
Suit
right,
Spider-Man.
we didn't.
You
Like
throw
I
in
said, like
Sandman
we
or
didn't
Venom
need
or
we
whatever.
didn't need all of this in one movie.
Right.
It seemed like they crammed what should have been 6 movies into 3 by cramming
So
the
many
third
different
trilogy.
things.
And
I mean,
even
not the
one
third
of the
trilogy, the
writers
second
for
trilogy.
even one of the writers for Spider-Man 3 said that he was considering splitting it up into 2 parts because that's how big this movie was.
Yeah.
There's just too much going on.
There are 3 love triangles. It's Peter, Mary Jane, Harry. That's one. Peter, Gwen, Mary Jane. That's another one. Peter, Gwen, Eddie.
Oh, don't even talk about Eddie Brock. Like,
Topher Grace is horrible.
Yeah,
Topher
so
Grace-
that's the character you're gonna say.
No, it's actually
It's
not.
not.
Even
Topher-
later, we'll talk about it.
Topher Grace is terrible in this movie.
See,
I don't know
love
how did
Topher
he
Grace not in this movie?
How did he
though.
get this role in this movie?
I think because he reminds a lot of people of Tobey Maguire.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what
I
it
can
is.
see
Because, fun fact, Topher Grace was actually up for Spider-Man when it
That's
first
another
happened.
thing.
And
And
so
they kind of thought, well, he could be like the antithesis to
But
like
that's
Spider-Man.
not like
But
you
that's
don't
not
need
who
Spider.
Eddie
That's not
Brock
who
is,
Venom
and-
is. That's not
yeah.
Eddie Brock. Like,
Venom's supposed to be
that's-
this, big, bulky, just kind of jerk.
And
No,
also, Topher Grace is not a great villain,
And
really.
yeah, Topher Grace just really doesn't fit
Like, I mean,
that
like-
character.
And like that 70s show, he's this like nerdy kid. Like,
right, exactly. And then that whole just.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about the scene
Go ahead.
Oh,
Gotta be talked
yeah.
about.
The jazz scene. What was going on with that? That is for
I can't-
everything that they did to make
Oh,
Tobey Maguire a likable.
Lowest.
It's just
I can't ever imagine that ever coming up in like a meeting, like a script meeting or anything, and be like, we should have a jazz dance scene. That'll
like,
add to this.
like everything. Like I said, everything the first two movies did to build it up to make it likable. Spider-Man 3 just cut at the knees because you had Tobey Maguire building up to where he's okay. He's this dorky guy, but he's this goofy one that you want to like and root for. And then the third one, the whole stuff's going on with the suit, and you're just like, oh, I hate this guy. Like the goofball, the dorkiness, it's just over the top. It's just too much.
but yeah, it's definitely the low point for Tobey Maguire, but it's also the low point for both Kirsten Dunst and James Franco.
It's the low point for all
I
of them.
hate Mary Jane Watson. in
Because
this movie.
she's just unlikable and just wants to get with James Franco's Harry Osborn for
Why
some
is
reason.
that? Why
And
is
then-
that a thing?
And then Harry Osborn, he starts off okay, where he wants to be the new Goblin, and kill Harry, but then he like hits his head and gets amnesia for half
Loses
the
his
movie,
memory for an hour.
and then
The face blow up.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the board. Like,
I do like the glider in this one. I
yeah,
do
how
like
it's
the glider.
like the board.
Oh,
I like the
that.
sword.
Sword's pretty cool.
The sword's cool. I like the sword and I like the
I
glider.
have a question.
What's up?
Why is he not the Hobgoblin?
I don't know.
Why
He's
is
a
he
new
the
goblin.
Goblin?
I don't know.
yeah.
Don't ask me. I didn't write the movie. If I
Alright.
did, it'd probably been better.
All right, let's talk about Sandman, another villain.
I like Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church
He's a good
was,
actor.
was a good choice for Sandman, but I don't think they.
Why
used-
is Sandman in this movie?
I don't think Sandman.
He didn't
was
need to be in
used-
this movie, but I will say a positive for him. To keep a positive, I feel like he had the most character development.
Yes, there just were
I definitely-
certain.
It not necessarily was good character. I feel like he had the most character
He
development.
kind of feels like the typical, well, not typical because not Green Goblin, but he's very Doc Ock. Like, he's
But
he's
not
not a
good.
villain.
By nature,
He's not
He's
evil by
forced,
nature.
He's forced into these situations.
By his sick daughter.
Right.
Then he falls into the nuclear plant, and they think it's just a bird, and they turn
it's
him
just
into
a bird.
Sandman.
It's probably a bird.
Probably a bird.
It's really a bird. Don't need to check it.
Yeah, so since you're saying a positive about Sandman, I'm just saying a positive about the movie. I like the whenever Peter's getting rid of like the symbiote suit, the like
Yeah,
and he
that's
just
one of the
slams
bell
it
and
into
he
the
just-
bell
he's just
it's
ripping it
awesome.
off.
Well, that's
Right.
just straight up, we're like ripped from the
Yeah.
comics,
Oh
right?
yeah, no,
Yeah, pretty
absolutely.
much.
Yeah,
It's still a cool scene to
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
nonetheless.
absolutely.
One thing I will
That's
say.
probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
One thing I will say about the black suit though is the in the comics it was more just all black, but in the movie it's just more like his suit but black.
I like it.
I thought it was
I
cool.
liked
though.
it, yeah.
I think
I love the design.
I think
I
it's
think it's
alright.
awesome.
I think it's
I
alright,
really-
but it just seems kind of lazy in my opinion. They couldn't do a different suit.
I mean,
Something
the
interesting.
symbiote Spider-Man is literally just a black suit. Like it's just a black suit. Like it's not. There's no lines in it or anything.
I know, but I prefer that
don't.
look better.
I
might
like
be
the
complicated.
I like the adaptation.
I feel like
I thought it made it
I
more
actually
look
like
more
this
modern
more.
and everything.
Mm.
But something I will say that I did, I also very enjoyed.
Very
I really enjoyed in the movie was at the end the big fight scene where Harry and
Just all the
Peter,
chaos.
all the chaos. But when Harry and Peter do team up, it is nice to see that
Mhm.
friendship where like they went full circle. They were best friends, enemies. Harry finds out, and then the truth comes back around. And they're friends again, and they fight at the end. Of course, Harry has to die.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then Venom dies also, and Sandman just leaves
Fades away into the
even
wind.
though-
I don't know. Sandman's
because
still
he-
alive.
I guess.
Yeah.
because he apparently
Not anymore because he immerses.
He apparently didn't kill Uncle Ben, even though they said he did. But that was a dumb subplot. Because why do we need to
Right, there was
dig
no-
out Uncle Ben's
there was no
corpse
point in
to
going back
talk
to
about
that.
his death again?
No, I think that was just to make him connected to Peter more, and it just I don't know. It didn't.
It fell flat.
Oh, and another
Worse than flat.
and
It fell
also
into a
speaking of
hole.
another subplot, why did we need Gwen Stacy in this movie?
We didn't.
We didn't. There are too many characters going around in this movie.
Yeah.
That's the simple answer. We didn't.
Yeah, it's
Alright.
just
Y'all ready?
Yeah, we'll go around this way again, shall we?
come back to me. I'm still thinking.
All right.
I'm
Sorry.
gonna give it a 5.7.
5.7.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It's not good.
No, it's not very good, and that's why I'm gonna give it a 4.9. I do not like this movie.
You seem to hate it a lot more than me.
probably like 5.5, 5.6 ish. Because like first time I saw it, and I was a
The
dumb
first
kid.
time I saw it, I was
like,
a dumb kid.
yeah.
I was like, that was awesome.
I was like 9 years old.
I was like, that was
exactly.
awesome. And then
I was like, I
watched,
love all the villains, all the fighting.
like, it's so cool, and the toys were awesome. That
Yeah,
were
and
coming
then
out.
I watched.
Oh man, this has so many villains.
Yeah, exactly. That's back when I was a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I
But
thought
coming,
the prequels were better than the originals for Star Wars.
Watch it.
Qui-Gon Jinn is still great.
I was like, there's so much.
That's just don't
I was like, there's so much more action in this
Right.
than the originals.
All right,
But you know,
I need your rating.
I'm gonna go 4.7. It's
You like it even less than I do.
yeah, it's pretty bad. There's just not a lot to save this movie. There are hints of goodness of what the movie could have been, but there's too much Sony involvement and not enough Sam Raimi. And there's too many villains, too much subplots, just too much going on.